Hello, BookTube. It's Joshua here, and I've had a fairly long day, and I'm feeling a bit tired, but I figured I just want to make a video to check in with you guys, and so sorry if I'm like if I don't speak very well, or if I don't seem like I have a lot of energy, but I wanted to check in with you guys because well, it's been a while since I've posted, and I have some things to tell you and some things to show you, and I don't know what kind of video this is going to be. I'm going to show you some periodicals because I've been wanting to do that for so long, and I haven't done that yet. Even though I always see Steve do it, and I see Joe do it sometimes. So yeah, so I have some here to show you. I also have a gift to show you, which one particular booktuber sent me. So somebody actually sent me a gift, which is, I mean, like, that's amazing. And so I'll show you guys that. And then I also have an announcement of a kind of reading project or reading challenge, which I will also get to. Um, First I'll talk about the gift because um, kind of out of the blue, book chat with Pat. Pat, she emailed me and asked if it was okay if she could send me a gift, and she didn't tell me what it was, and so she put it in the mail, and she sent me this gift, and it came in yesterday or the day before. I think it came in 2 days ago, and I've had it now. It's just been sitting here, and I've been admiring it because it's an amazing gift. um it's the Riverside edition of Shakespeare. So this is the complete works of Shakespeare, and this was, as Pat herself told me, this was the standard text, the standard volume that everybody had, or every, every student of Shakespeare had, in the 70s and 80s. uh, and it's supposed to be like a very authoritative volume, and I'm so happy that I have it. When it came in, I just smiled because I remembered that we had talked about it a little bit in one of my comment sections, and she told me about this edition, and now she just sent it to me, and so it was just incredibly kind of Pat, and yeah, I just wanted to show you guys, and I wanted to say thank you to Pat, because it's an incredibly generous gift, and I'm actually very moved that someone would send this to me. I never thought, when I started this channel, I never thought that um uh, uh, that things like this would happen, that I would make friends, and people would send gifts, as an appreciation of that friendship, and yeah, I'm just I'm very I'm very happy, and so yeah, that was the gift. Also, so now I want to show you some periodicals. um I've been, for the past couple of months, uh I've been trying out different periodicals, trying out different journals, and seeing what I like. And I tried the London Review of Books. I tried the New York Review of Books, and I did, like, various, free, they either offer, like, free trials, or they'll offer, 6 months for $10 or something like that. And I just did those and tried them out. But now I've canceled those, I guess, well, that interest in periodicals also coincided with, this whole renewed renewed patriotism in Canada, in response to Trump's threats, in response to Trump's stated intentions to annex Canada. And so that got me thinking, well, okay, so I mean, there's this whole climate of buying Canadian. So what are some Canadian periodicals that I could read? And so I did some research, and I got two. I have two here. The first, I'll show you this one. It's the Literary Review of Canada. So this is essentially the Canadian equivalent of the New York Review of Books, or the London Review of Books. Um, and so it just has these long form book reviews of, of all of books published in Canada. I think, I don't know if it exclusively does that, or if it goes into, other, like, if it goes into the American publishing market or something else. but it has a lot of subject matter about Canada. I mean, I'm just reading the first couple of articles here, and I read an article about the industrialization of the town of Vernon in BC. Uh, and the next one, which I was just taking a look at, but I haven't read yet, is really interesting. Um, it's called The Ace, a Jewish war hero. The review's written by J.L. Granitstein, and it's reviewing a book about one specific uh, flight lieutenant who was in the Battle of Britain, because the book's called The Battle of Britain, Spitfire Ace, The Life and Loss of One of the Few, Flight Lieutenant William Henry Nelson, DFC. So I'm assuming it's a Canadian fighter pilot who was in the Battle of Britain. And so I think you're just getting topics like that, which is just to me so fascinating. I don't know if there's... I wonder if the interest in here is a little bit more narrow than something like the LRB. But still, I'm glad I have this. And I mean, I haven't read through it yet, but it just came in the mail today. And I'm excited. Although there are actually some names on here that I do recognize. There's Irina Dumitrescu, who I've seen write for the London Review of Books. But yeah, I just got that, and then I also subscribed to another thing. This is The Walrus. And this is more news based. It's not really a literary review, but I think it's comparable to the Atlantic or to the New Yorker, even though I've never read those publications. But I've heard it compared to that. It's essentially just it's long form news reporting, long form journalism mixed in with a couple of poems, with maybe one short story, maybe one memoir, and various other little features here and there. But yeah, I also got this. This was last month's issue. I already got the next one, which I haven't read yet. But I'm still kind of thinking about this one because I don't know if you guys noticed this cover here, but it's pretty striking. You have the shape of the Canadian flag, but then it's all broken, and of course you have Trump's eye there. I think this was from the photo of his mugshot. And so this is, a very fitting, actually, a very fitting cover, really well done, and I think that's they made this cover to fit with the theme of one specific article, and that is and I read this. That is an article called "How to Save Canada." And it was a very long one. It's about 3-4 pages long of these blocks of prose, and well, I like it. I like this article a lot because I find it very rare that you'll find. It's very rare to find journalism that takes Trump's annexation threats seriously. Well, it's not very rare, but sometimes I find that people discount it as mere rhetoric, but this treats it very seriously, and so in fact I actually want to read you maybe a couple paragraphs from here, because one of the things that annoys me so much is just when I talk to other people living in Canada, and they don't seem to think that any kind of annexation, any kind of attack on Canada is possible, but I believe that it is, and this article also does, and advises measures to be taken so that we aren't economically and militarily dependent on America, and because if we are, then America will obviously be able to annex us if they choose to. So yeah, well, here I'll read you a couple paragraphs. Okay, here. Canadians with a cherished mythology as the world's peacekeepers are going to have to get used to a radically new outlook on national security and defense, one that pivots toward an unprecedented threat to our sovereignty. This threat is no longer confined to some distant set of authoritarian states, but now comes from our closest neighbor and longtime friend. The United States President, Donald Trump, and his top advisors have repeatedly made annexationist and imperial threats against Canada, with the stated endgame of turning the country into the 51st state. Trump aides have advised Canadian officials, including visiting Team Canada premiers and territorial leaders, that the president means what he says. Take Mike Waltz, Trump's national security advisor, a lantern-jawed former Green Beret turned Republican congressman. Waltz appeared on NBC on February 9th and was asked about the prospect of the U.S. annexing Canada. The question followed then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's hot mic comments at the Canada-U.S. Economic Summit in Toronto, where he suggested the U.S. had its sights on Canada's critical minerals. Waltz was reassuring, sort of. He said there were no plans for a military invasion. But then he went on to talk about the reassertion of quote-unquote American leadership in the Western Hemisphere, telling the NBC host, quote, "That's what we're talking about, from Greenland to Arctic security to the Panama Canal coming back under the United States. We have heard about Trump's desire to buy Greenland, the Panama Canal to repossess it, but Arctic security? That's a code word in plain sight." Waltz was describing the U.S. laying claim to land that isn't theirs, Canadian sovereign territory. So, and it goes on. It goes on for multiple paragraphs, citing more evidence that not just Trump, but multiple members in the MAGA movement have their sights aimed on Canada and Greenland and the Panama Canal. So yeah, there's a little bit of a digression, but I would also like to announce a reading project that I'm going to be doing, because Andrew at the channel, You Could Be Reading More, he did this incredibly kind thing and like very, very considerate thing where he took 5 books that I raved about on my channel and read them, and it's this thing where he, yeah, I don't know if he's gonna turn it into a series or if he's just doing it as a one-time thing, but it's where he reads the favorite books of a particular booktuber, and I think that's a wonderful idea. And so I want to pay back. I want to do the same thing. I went onto his channel. I went onto Andrew's channel, and I selected 5 books that he talked about praisingly, or that have come up multiple times. And so specifically, I went on to his videos titled "Mandatory Reading," which is like I think like a half joking title, where he's assigning you books to read. But I'm taking 5 books from that list, and yeah, I'm gonna try to get to these 5 books sometime in the future, like hopefully in the near future, of course. He read all the 5 books that he chose from my channel. He read that in a month, which I cannot do, because I don't read as fast as him or as Steve or as Joe or whoever. But I have 5 books here lined up for the next however long it takes. So the first 2 are Regency romances, because I've been wanting to get into Regency romances for a while now. I mean, I've read 5 or 6 of them in total, but I want to read more. I want to discover more. I especially want to read Georgia Hayer, who has been praised by Steve and Andrew as well. So I'm reading The Grand Sophie by Georgia Hayer, which was one that was very highly recommended by Andrew in his mandatory reading video. And then I'm also reading a modern Regency romance, which is called The Bachelor by Sabrina Jeffries. And so those will be the 2 Regencies. And then I'm going to read other things, of course, as well. One of the books that I've seen come up time and again on Andrew's channel is The Book of Marjorie Kemp. So I'm going to read that. I know that it's a kind of autobiography. I know that's an autobiography, a religious, spiritual autobiography, from, I don't actually know which century it was written in, but from the Middle Ages, around there. And then I'm going to read some short stories by Henry Lawson, because Andrew is an Australian, and I mean, Steve talked about this actually in his video. He said that whenever he's met Australians, they've always been very patriotic about their country in a very good way, in a non chauvinistic way. And I can see that in Andrew. I mean, he reads tons of Australian literature, and so yeah, I want to try reading some of that because I've never read Australian anything. So I'm reading short stories by Henry Lawson, and then I'm reading Don Quixote because I think he's actually reading Don Quixote soon as well, or something like that, or he's reading a biography of of Cervantes. But yeah, Don Quixote is a classic that's actually sitting on my shelf, and I've never read it, although I want to get it, and so I figure I might as well take this opportunity to include it in this list. So yeah, that is the end of this video. This is just a really kind of random video. I don't know what this is. There's no actual theme to it. I'm just showing you a gift, showing you periodicals, and going on a little rant, and then showing you 5 books that I want to read in the near future. But that's about it. That is about it. I've been reading this science fiction anthology here in the meantime, one story a day, and it's been very interesting. And I'm hoping to do a Zoom call with Steve maybe about that. I've also been reading the Iliad here, because I'm doing a very like slow, casual buddy read with a friend of mine, and yeah, and also I just started. Okay, now I'm just turning this into a reading update video, but now I also just started reading The Third Reich by Michael Burleigh. I just read the introduction and gave myself a headache because it's definitely the prose is definitely very steep. But yeah, that is just kind of what I've been doing, what I've been up to, what I've received in the mail, and yeah. I mean, if you guys have any thoughts about these things, or if you just want to say hi or anything, I would love to hear you guys' comments. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. So thank you, and bye-bye.